You know, if it goes live. Okay, assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters and friends. I hope everyone is well. We are live, myself and Faruq. We're going to be talking about the Jinn Hypothesis book today. We're going to do an extensive Q&A as well with you guys. So we're going to do a short introduction, just fill you in about what this book is all about, and then we'll do a Q&A. So just bear with us a second. We're just loading up the section on the questions. So obviously you guys can hear us, inshallah. Yeah, if you can hear us, let us know in the comment section. Yeah. Just drop in a little yes, so we know you guys can hear us nice and clear, or in the chat, not the comment section, the chat, live chat, and we'll see it pop up, inshallah. So we'll wait a few, like 30 seconds, just to see if some of you guys, whoever's on right now, can hear us, and then we can make a start, inshallah.
There we go. Let's join the creator and what others. It's not opening.
Chat's there on the side, bro.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, you're right. You're right. There we go. So we are in the chat. I'll just give my salam. Boom.
Okay. Can hear you well? Okay.
Yeah, perfect. There you go. Abdurrahman, welcome, brother. MashaAllah.
Okay, Bismillah. Let's make a start, inshallah. So, Faruq, first question, bro.
We are on here as well now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
so, alhamdulillah. Okay. So, Faruq, let's make a start, bro, inshallah. Yes. How are you first and foremost, bro?
Alhamdulillah, I'm with good. Jazakallah khair for inviting me here today, bro. MashaAllah. And, engage on this topic that I love so much. I could honestly sit here for hours and talk about this same thing. But yeah, no, I'm very well, barakallahu feek, and it's been a wonderful day here in the offices, mashallah, getting to see all the wonderful books like this. By the way, for those of you who don't know, this is literally like a thumb-sized amount of what the actual reality of the whole. Every wall is books around here, so yeah, it's impressive. If those of you love reading, you'd love this room, mashallah.
So we've been working on something which we'll talk about as we go along, inshallah. But first and foremost, bro, obviously the title of this video, Jinn versus aliens, is non-human intelligence real?
Yeah.
This is obviously related to the booklet that we've published.
Yeah.
First thing I want to talk about, bro, before we get into the book or anything like that, is why is this, like, we've had questions several times. Why is this topic important? Why is it relevant? Why are you talking about the jinn? Why are you talking about UFOs?
Yeah.
When did you start wearing tinfoil hats? You know, so just maybe let's start off with why. The relevance and significance of this topic. I think is an important place to start.
I think you're right there, Akhi. To be honest, look, as Muslims, we're commanded to do certain things. Like, I'll give you an example, brothers and sisters. The Prophet ﷺ was told to follow the guidance of the Anbiya in the Quran. It's a command. And when you fulfill a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you get what? Rewarded. What does that translate to on a day of judgment? Well, we can only hope that it translates to rewards that go on our scale and end up leading us towards Al-Jannah, inshallah, right? But that's why we do anything, isn't it? To worship and to follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his prophet, and to seek guidance in that, yeah? When it comes to the unseen world, there's things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about, and there's things that he's withheld from us, and that's just the way it is. And a lot of the world today, they look into the mysteries and the high strangeness and the weird and paranormal. This is a gateway for many people to enter into Islam. I've heard so many stories of people who have converted or reverted to Islam through these sort of areas, right? Because it's a fascinating topic for human beings, and they want to know more about it. This is something that many people have an interest in, and Islam is not an exception to that. Islam, in fact, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ go in depth into the topic of the paranormal, but the paranormal has its own connotations. We call them jinn. This is a creature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about in the Quran, told us of their creation twice in the Quran. He spoke heavily about the origins of mankind and the relationship between us and Iblis and his qabila, his tribe, right, and his people. So these are, and this is mentioned over 6 times in the Quran, in fact. So these things are heavily emphasized within the Quran and within the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet himself had multiple meetings with al-jinn. So these are a real creation, a real creature that lives on this planet with us, and they interact with human beings in different ways. Now, you might say, yeah, we accept that they're real, but what's the point in talking about them? Well, it is in a relationship with Iman. When you talk about the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about, it increases your Iman when you find relevance to this information. I'll give you an example. Many people are encouraged or spurred on in their Iman. They strengthen their Iman when they read things in the Quran or in the Sunnah that is a prophecy that came true, and they say, you know what, this man spoke the truth. For Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he truly was the messenger of Allah, and it increases your Iman. This topic does the same thing. When you research and learn about the jinn and who they are and how they interact with us and the types of behaviors that they try to get us to do, and you understand them and their world a little bit better, it increases your Iman. Why? Because you see the effects of them in the modern world today. And that's what we kind of highlighting here.
Yeah.
We want to research and understand the world of the jinn and their relationship with certain people in mankind, so that we can better understand even, and we've spoke to some of the scholars about this, or we could at least say one of them recently has said that this is of great importance with modern politics and how the world around us works, and this, how it can give some evildoers a confidence in their evil because of their relationship with something that seems supernatural. So I know I'm delving into some strange areas there in saying that, but effectively that's what we want to do. We want to understand the world of the supernatural better according to Quran and Sunnah, and therefore understand why things are happening in the world the way that they are.
Yeah, so that's definitely a very important angle, bro.
Yeah.
The other thing, like we discussed, I mean, the relevance of the topic. If you look at some of the top podcasts, you look at Joe Rogan, his number one podcast is on the topic of aliens, UFOs, right? This whole topic of UFOs and UAPs and non-human intelligences is on the rise, right?
Yeah.
It's becoming ever more popular as the months, the years go by. There's been congressional hearings in America. There's been so much that, if you look at social media, most podcasts have done, top podcasts have done, hit the UFO topic. So essentially, from our perspective, bro, when you look at this whole topic and you look at every different facet and angle of this topic, you realize very quickly that we're not talking about extraterrestrial aliens from another planet.
No.
What's actually going on, this is more in line with what we believe about the jinn.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's important from a Dawah perspective to bring that to the table, because as we've done the research and we've come to the conclusion, the Jinn hypothesis is the strongest hypothesis to explain what people are currently engaging with, witnessing, talking about when it comes to this UFO, UAP, NHI topic. So there's a very important, powerful Dawah element to this whole discussion as well. Hence, we did the booklet, which we'll get into in a second. So it is a very relevant topic. Furthermore, bro, as you know, from our short-term experience from engaging with non-Muslims on the topic, and by the way, brothers and sisters and friends, this has probably been one of those topics where we've had maximum non-Muslim engagement as compared to
bizarrely, isn't it?
Bizarrely, which people will be surprised to hear about. Non-Muslims are really interested in hearing about what Islam has to say in regards to this topic. And we've seen that people have experiences. Most people out there, if you had to go down the high street and speak to 100 people, I would say maybe 80% or more would
have some story.
Yeah, if you ask them, have you had a supernatural, paranormal, strange experience in your life? They'll say yes. How do you understand it? They probably wouldn't be able to contextualize it from a secular perspective. The secular paradigm cuts off from all of these things, so people can't explain these experiences. Hence, they don't talk about these experiences, and on top of it, people are, it's almost undermined these things. And we shouldn't shy away from this. If you look at the academic literature, bro, you'll be shocked to find that there are academic papers written on the fact that even Muslims today, many Muslims in many societies don't believe that the jinn are real entities or beings. That's shocking, right? We know Allah mentions these beings, and so much so that they mention throughout the entire Quran. There's a chapter dedicated to them, and they mention everywhere else. So it's a very important topic. And I think, let me pick your brain on this. But there's another thing, there's this thing within the Muslim community. As soon as you mention jinn, like some people will say, don't talk about it. We shouldn't talk about the jinn.
Astaghfirullah. They will do the old,
Yeah. So what's your take on that?
Look, I think there's a lot of superstition that comes with it, and there may be some, shall we say, experience, right, that some people have had in the past. That when you start to talk about them, their view is that if you speak about them, you kind of like opening a door to an engagement or a negative engagement, right? And if that was the case, there wouldn't be a chapter called the Jinn, and it wouldn't mention what they do, right? And their life. It wouldn't mention the story of Iblis and Adam. It wouldn't mention when the Jinn, heard the Quran for the first time and took it back to their people, and that they become du'at, right? And they called their own people into Islam. If it was a negative thing to talk about them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wouldn't have spoke about them, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the Prophet ﷺ wouldn't have actively engaged with them and went out. Now, by the way, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we're prophets and we should be going out there trying to engage with them, but the Prophet ﷺ had a mission to do, and he fulfilled his mission. And in one case at least, he took a Sahaba with him, right, who had an experience and saw some strangeness with regard to them. And they left some strange evidences behind them. Whenever they visit a place, there seems to be some sort of markings that they leave behind. And the Prophet ﷺ showed his companions these markings. So, they're a real thing that interact with the real world. So knowing about them and understanding about them and reading about them according to the Quran and the Sunnah, as well as what the Sahaba experienced as well thereafter, there's quite a lot in the literature, Akhi.
Yeah.
But especially, very strange stories that happen in the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. But thereafter as well, stretching throughout the history of the Muslims, you do see the experiences that Muslims had with regard to these creatures, and that the scholars wrote in depth about it. There's multiple books written in the past, more so than there are today, right?
Yeah.
And we've had as well in the modern days, we had some work like the work of Dr. Umar al-Ashqar, rahimahullah. And those works were translated multiple times, in fact, by different scholars have translated that into the English language. So there's definitely a relevance. And if there was any negativity about writing about them, the Prophet would have told us not to.
Yeah.
Like, look, they're real, but don't talk about them. Don't. Yeah. I will engage with them, leave them, and they'll have their own message over there, and we'll be separate. But it wasn't like that. It was much more open and much more... it was well understood, right? It doesn't mean that you go out and seek to get in contact with them, but rather that they are real and they are existing. We should know about them. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been contained in the Quran and the Sunnah. So I would say that number one, first and foremost, the idea that it's negative to learn or to think or to have knowledge about this is wrong. Where the negativity comes in is if you're trying to engage, right? Because their world is so different than our own, and there can be a lot of negative effects, and it's written about by the scholars. There are, unfortunately, it could be benign. You could be just walking down the street and do something that perhaps offends one of them, or they become infatuated with you. There are cases like that, right?
Yeah.
And these type of things, that will happen to you whether or not you were learning or reading about them. This is something that can happen to you by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his help is sought, of course, when these things happen. And there are remedies that the Prophet gave, the Prophet used on himself when things went wrong, as well as for us to use in the future. Ruqya, for example, is one of the great sciences that can really help people, alleviate themselves from jinn afflictions. So, they can happen to you whether or not you're researching stuff. And quite often it is, isn't it? People who are innocent, they've done nothing wrong, and they've been afflicted by the jinn. But it can be brought on by you reaching out. So there's a difference between learning about them and reaching out to them.
Yeah.
And even then, when you are learning about them, it can have some negative effects. But that's by the will of Allah, and you can't stop that, whether or not. So stick to the Quran and Sunnah, learn what is, of course, what is mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah, what is mentioned by the scholars. It's important to know about this information, in particular about our time, the time we live in. I would say it's more akin to the time, more similar to the time of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, because in his time, it does seem that they were in a period of heightened relationship with the jinn. As the Prophet said, and this is a very wise statement of the Prophet, peace be upon him, there are those that come and go. And this applies in lots of different metrics. And it's part of the research we've been doing, but it seems that they come in waves, okay? Now, from what we understand, brothers and sisters, it's going to sound very strange to you, but we are in a period of time where they seem to be visiting more and having more of an effect on mankind, similar to the time of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. The reason we say that is because they're being spoke about and mentioned more than ever before. And society has become less, should we say, in tune with the fitra of man, which is to be upon righteousness and godliness. Even if that righteousness and godliness comes in the form of a different religion, like say Christianity or whatever, but in those societies, they used to, be aware of the devil. They used to seek refuge in God from the devil, right? So since those days have died out and people are less religious now, particularly in America, we are seeing a huge influx of these sort of cases where people are seeing non-human intelligences. We have in the intelligence communities in America direct efforts to engage with these things because they know they're real. We even had somebody very recently who is a senior researcher among the UFO community, as well as he's a scientist from within the intelligence community. He's not just like some guy with a tinfoil hat. He really is, high level researcher from inside the community. They've made efforts to get in contact with these beings because they want to know, what have you got? What can we get out of you? What sort of technology do you have? And so there've been a long-standing effort to get in contact with them because they want to understand the technology that they've retrieved. So this is important to know, because once you understand that it's not just beings that have coming to whisper to you to do evil as a Muslim, but rather there's a much wider and vast engagement that they're having with our governments and with the people at high up and with the people who have the most powerful technologies in the world. That's where the sort of cutting edge of this information is coming out. It's coming out in these very secretive, very high level intelligence groups, like military intelligence and excuse me, what's the right word for?
What is so academic groups?
Yeah,
military
intelligence, and these aerospace companies and so on and so forth, who have an interest in getting hold of the technology.
Yeah,
that's what they're obsessed with. And what we can kind of tell right now is that they're desperate for it. And they want it because it gives them the upper hand over everybody else.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there, bro.
There is, but I just want to mention one last thing. It's kind of like the shayateen and the devils are creating a paradigm where we have the people in the most highest levels of government and military intelligence who are chasing after something that exists in a world beyond our own.
Yeah.
And it's created this strange situation where they're doing whatever it takes to try and get what they can out of them. And it's a Pied Piper situation or the carrot situation. And they're presenting to them these strange looking technologies that have captured their heart. Yeah. So did I go too far?
There's a lot there, and I'm gonna question you more, bro, to unpack this. We've got some comments. Rash1234 is asking, "Salam guys from London. Can I ask a question?" Yeah, please ask your questions in the chat section, and we'll start answering them as we go along. We won't leave them till the end, inshallah. So there's a question here by Saqib.
Oh, we got one on Saqib.
He said, "Are UFOs from Harut and Marut?"
Harut and Marut. Okay, it's a good question. We'll go through that. What else we got here? We got some here. Look, is Messengers by Valet a good book? What do you reckon, bro?
Messengers
by Jacques Vallée.
Messengers of Deception, I think is.
Yeah, I think
we were just looking at that now. I think I looked at the contents page today. I think it is good. So I'm actually that's one of his that I haven't read properly or fully. I'm going to start going
Passport to Magnolia is a good introduction.
It's a good introduction.
Yeah. I would go with Passport. The thing is, brothers, for people like Jacques Vallée, he kind of he does go over the same research quite often, which is good if you want to learn, but he covers similar concepts. So you only get a few more anecdotal things per book. So if you just start with something like Passport to Magnolia, that will really open a door to what he's kind of saying about it, and then you can go from there.
So there's more questions this time.
This is the Sapiens one.
So what are you brothers take on
Sihr
and Jinn? What do you think?
And are UAPs related to Sihr in some way? Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, this is the thing with this topic, brothers and sisters. If it's not mentioned in Quran and Sunnah, it becomes speculation, right? And you'll find that the topic of the jinn is highly speculative. But there are people who do ruqya who have said that there is some other additional phenomena that come up with regard to possession. We find amongst the Muslim community in general, one of the great, sort of the most common manifestations is in what the non-Muslims would call hitchhiker effects or possession phenomena, where you're going to find them following you. You have some memory loss, You don't know something happened in your parents or your spouse or something. They say, you know, you lost your temper, you was enraged or something happened, and you genuinely have no memory of it. So that's one way that they manifest. But in some places and in some cases, you have a mixture of phenomena. So you have also the possession or hitchhiker, which often carries with it paranormal, poltergeist, as they call it, where you'll see things fall off a shelf and other sort of phenomena like that. But then associated with it, you'll see lights in the sky. And people don't always associate a light within the sky with a UFO because, and I've even heard Muslims do it, they interpret it as a angelic thing. Right?
Yeah.
They think it's an angel, a light in the sky. And even Christians as well, they'll do it, they'll interpret it as angelic. But it quite easily could be just a craft, an aircraft, or it genuinely could be something strange. And that is the trick of the devil, if you like. So, yeah, they are related. Sihr, in and of itself, does have strange phenomena come with it. It is part and parcel of it. So yeah, absolutely, sihr can cause some of these other effects like UAP to be associated
So
with it.
Neuronex, I think, says, why do you think jinns, shaitan are doing this, and what is their goal? Are Muslims falling for their goal? So this is an interesting question.
Very interesting.
One thing we can say from the research, and I think Faruq would agree, is that the jinn have time and time again throughout history appeared to people in different forms, and normally they have taken on forms that would be imposing and dominating over people. So through history we see them appearing as deities and other gods and powerful beings so that people could submit to them and worship them. There are narrations where it talks about the jinn sort of almost enjoying humans turning to them and submitting to them and asking them for help. So it's them showing their dominance. That's what you see throughout history. Them showing their at least the shayateen, the evil amongst the jinn, wanting to show their dominance over human beings. And I think some of it stems back to the original origin story between Adam and Iblis, where, you know, there's this jealousy and arrogance and hatred towards Adam. And he says, you know, I am better than him. And it's almost like the shayateen are trying to constantly, you know, reinforce and prove that point symbolically, at least, you know, that we are better than you, by appearing in forms which mesmerize people, which leave people in awe, and sometimes in many cases lead people to worshipping these entities. And if you look at it from the 21st century perspective, well, what better form could there be than to appear in this sort of highly technologically advanced form, like extraterrestrial beings from another planet that are far more advanced than you? Because we live in an age of technology, bro. We live in an age, you know, post Star Wars, post Star Trek, you know, this whole notion, this whole idea that's pushed in the 60s about, you know, aliens from another planet, highly intelligent, involved beings coming down, taking over or giving us something, etc. So they're using this guise, it seems like, you know, whereas in the past it was something else, you know. So I think that's one of the reasons, is to mislead people, to get people to submit to them, obey them and worship them, maybe for a bigger end game. Maybe it's linked to the advent of Dajjal. You never know, possibly. But we can speculate. Anything you want to add?
No, I'd confirm with what you're saying. They've created a paradigm, right, where they are the masters of technology. So I want you guys just to imagine for just a moment that you are part of a program that the government has initiated. Your job is to find or create the best technology to keep your country at the top tier, right? So your job is to, you know, research aerospace or weaponry or whatever it might be, you know, pick a topic, right? And the reason you're doing it is because you need to maintain some sort of supremacy or equality with other countries. Otherwise you could be dominated, right? So we can see the results of a country abandoning such a behavior, like in the Arab world, among the Muslim world, people who kind of left behind this type of endeavor, where we used to be the supreme military power of the earth. We were the world superpower at the time because of our military might and our ability to win in battles when the odds were against us, because Allah is the one who gives victory, of course. But when we abandon that sort of methodology, we are now, you know, of the lowest. And there's only one Muslim country who has the type of weaponry that puts them on an equal field, but they've sold themselves out. Everybody knows that country sold themselves out. There is only one Muslim nuclear power, and that one Muslim nuclear powered country is one of the few countries that are proper sellouts. You know, like most of them don't need to sell out because they're so low on the rung of the ladder. They'll do anything just for, you know, some grain and some rice, right? But a country that has the power to be up there, you know, and to have this a similar level of power as other countries, there's only one, and that country, unfortunately, you know, lost its way. So reason why I want to bring that up is if you are in that country and your job is to find the most powerful technology that's going to be the future, or to keep yourself in the game, so to speak, you're going to look around the world and you're going to use the instruments you've got, and you're going to use your radars, and you're going to use your sonars under the water, and you're going to see something, some artifacts come back. And this is what whistleblowers in the American intelligence community have come out and said, that we see these things on our radars, on our sonars, traveling at speeds impossible speeds, in some cases, you know, 20, 30, 40,000 miles an hour plus, way faster than, you know, the human body can handle, and way faster than even material can handle. Like if you send metal at 40, 50,000 miles an hour in aerospace, it would tear it apart. It would just heat up and burn up, and you know, simply couldn't possibly travel through air like the way that it does, let alone water. I mean, water, they've recorded, and there's been multiple reports of this. An admiral from the American Navy has said that we've seen things traveling underwater over 700 miles an hour, which is impossible for us at the moment, right? So these things are being reported. If you work for those, you're going to want to know, what are these things? How are they operating? What sort of physics are they using to work like that? And that's what we've got here. We've got this situation, this paradigm. Yeah,
carrot.
It's a carrot, man. And they've created this paradigm that you want to be powerful. We're much more powerful than you.
We have the goods.
Yeah, come with us. Follow me. Yeah. So if you see these things and know that they're real, and you work in those areas of research, you're going to want to know who's behind them. And you're immediately going to, you know, rule out the major countries of the world. You're going to say it's not Russia, it's not Britain, it's not America, you know, it's not China. So you're going to be left with, who is it then? And then you're going to have to look through history, and you're going to see that these things have been seen throughout history, and then you're going to identify it as something else. So you're going to have to look into those people who claim to be in contact with them. Just one great example, brother, just to go with it. In the time of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, they were doing the same with the superpower at the time, the Muslims. And instead of coming in the form of a, I don't know, alien being with a technology,
It wouldn't make any sense in those.
it wouldn't know. But what way did they come in? They came in as awliya. So they presented themselves as, they attached themselves to some human beings and gave those human beings supernatural capability, or what seemed like supernatural capability, should we say. And those people benefited from that. So they became rich and wealthy, and they would influence the people of their time. They were the influencers of the time, and therefore they influenced the people. And we have the same thing going on now. We have America, who's influenced by these things. So they're influencing the rest of the world. What sort of policies have you seen coming out of America? We're seeing very strange policies, particularly with regard to gender, particularly with regard to sexual attraction. And these are policies that have been implemented at a corporate and a military level. Right? So they're pushing this global, and they're making everybody, you got to be part of this if you want to benefit from the American state, right? If you want to benefit from the American business state, you've got to implement these policies. And we're seeing a relaxing of these policies in the Middle East since, you know, the last few years. My point being is, brothers and sisters, there's always a catch. In the time of Shaykh al-Islam, the catch was that you had to do shirk in order to have these sort of supernatural capabilities and influence the people negatively. And likewise today, we're seeing those countries that have the greatest technological superpowers are also the strangest with regard to, they're pretty much an anti-Islamic agenda that comes along with it, isn't it? You know.
So many questions coming up. Let's go through them, inshallah. I think it's best we go through the questions.
And that's Sapient. Do you want to do yours and then we'll go back to Sapient?
Where were we? No, let's just go through one by one.
Okay, good. This is Sapient's one. We've got to do yours as well, because we're on two channels, haven't we?
So,
Let's go to yours quick. Let's run through yours.
No, don't worry about mine. Let's do.
Bigfoot is Jinn. There we go. Abu Bilal. Bang on, Abu Bilal. We're with you on that one. We are working on the. You know, Bigfoot is a big one. We haven't had many on your one there. So in the documentary American Sasquatch, Man Before Monster, there are people who have seen Sasquatch shape-shifting. Yes, that's right. Abu Bilal, we're with you on that, brother. MashaAllah. You are correct. We are on the Sasquatch train. As being
conceptually, absolutely, yeah, conceptually, bro. Once you understand what the jinn are capable of, what is their remit of existence, how do they function, what are their abilities, what can they do, then you realize that all of the paranormal, poltergeists, ghosts, all of the cryptids, you know, werewolves, Bigfoot,
Yeah.
etc., etc., etc. All of these can be explained by this one neatly tied together theory, which is the jinn.
Yeah.
It makes sense, you know. But yeah, let's see if there's any. Where were we, bro?
Is that-
Nexus. We were under next.
Yeah, we're on here now.
Can
So
jinn physically harm us? If they can, what are their limits?
okay, yes, they absolutely can,
Want some
bro.
chocolate, boys? Sorry,
Sure,
guys.
man.
We're gonna, because it's gonna be a long,
I'll do it after. Actually, I'll eat the
Relatively-
chocolate after.
relatively
So-
long one.
There's a famous report, and if you want to read a book that kind of talks about all these sort of things that we're bringing up here, I always advise people to read the same book. It is The World of the Jinn and Devils by Sheikh Umar al-Ashqar, and in that book he does talk about this. Actually, he talks about an incident that happened with one of the great companions among the Ansar, and unfortunately, Sa'd ibn Ubadah, I believe it was, and I could be wrong there, so may Allah forgive me, but he was shot with an arrow. And they say that it was the jinn who assassinated him. So it was quite a famous story, but he was shot with an arrow. There's another example from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So previously, just to give you a little background, previously the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to say to the people to get rid of the snakes, right? And there's some tradition in that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, you know, us and the snakes have been enemies since the time of Adam, alayhi salatu wasalam. But you know, at that point, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was commanding the Sahaba to get rid of the snakes. Whenever you see them, just get rid of them. You know? Particularly certain snakes who cause diseases, right? And illnesses when they bite you. Until an incident occurred. One day, a man, he came home to his house after you know, being with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and on his way home, he saw his wife was outside the home. She was standing outside. And he became, you know, jealous. Why is she outside the house? Why is she standing there? She'd obviously run out from the house and wasn't, you know, dressed appropriately for a Muslim woman, but she was afraid. Okay, so he thought, what's going on? Why is she standing out here like this? And then she said, I've got an excuse. The reason I've had to come out, like, there's a huge snake in the house. So he went in the house and he attacked the snake. And the narrator of the story always, he says this. He says, we don't know who died first, the snake or him, but they both died. And then after that process, he gave a directive to the Sahaba. He said, you know, don't kill the snakes that come in the houses. For indeed, right, because this snake happened to be a Muslim jinn. And it took the form of the snake and gone into the house. And there are other reports of the jinn doing good and trying to learn and coming and studying, even with some of the Sahaba. But the point is that you asked if they can harm you. Yeah, absolutely. This jinn killed his Muslim brother, and this Muslim brother killed this Muslim jinn. So after that, the Prophet gave a directive. He said to any of the jinn that come in the house, any of the snakes that come in the houses, give them a warning for 3 days before you kill them. Yeah, because they could be a Muslim brother, right? So you have to be careful when you're in Medina and you see a snake. Don't kill it. It could be a Muslim, just chilling, man. He's on his way, right? But they can harm you. They can kill you. Absolutely. Now, what is the limit of that? What is the limit of a man killing you? It's the same as what a jinn can kill you, you know. But it does seem that this is not something that they regularly engage in. There is a lot of speculation that, you know, they can, you know, some people use them to do assassinations and killing like that, but it's speculation. You know, in general, they don't really bother with us if you don't bother with them, because they kind of see us, you know, like a lesser creature. You know, how many people are going out there and hanging around with lions to get killed by a lion? You know, so it's kind of the similar situation. We're not really interacting with their world that much, so therefore you don't really get involved where they're going to kill you. But if you go wandering around the woods at night with a fire, shouting chants, you know, you might pee one of them off and they come and take you out, man. So
And I think these narrations, what they also highlight is that the jinn can be killed when they have taken on a physical form.
Absolutely.
And that's very interesting, because we don't need to speculate too much on this, but it seems like when they take on a physical form, when they're shifting from their state of being, which we can speculate may be a type of plasma. We don't need to get into this today. But when they come into this physical form, if they are susceptible to what other physical beings are susceptible to, then the snake was killed by the Sahaba, etc. So that's another interesting point, because it relates to the whole UFO topic as well, because there's this claim of these entities or these bodies, right? Biologics. If that is true, then it can still be explained via what we're talking about, the jinn. So, I don't know this, some of this information initially when you hear about it, because of our sort of pre-concepts of what the jinn are is new information. It's quite shocking to the system. What jinn can be killed in a physical form, etc. But it's there. When you do the research, you find this stuff. Yeah. So let's go to the next one, bro.
What's the next one, bro?
We'll go back up. Scroll back up.
Okay, let me just go up. Bismillah. So we have here. Are you ruling out the possibility of biological entities like the Greys? Do you think all cases are linked with the jinn? Well, look, let's.
I think we answered some of it in that previous question.
Yeah, we kind of did. But look, when it comes to the Greys, there's a lot of mythology around them. There's stories that you hear about their genetic makeup. Some have said that they're very similar genetic makeup to human beings. It's a possibility. The fact is, we don't know enough about the Greys to say yes or no. But let me ask you this. Have you ever seen some of the robotics that have been created in, let's say, Japan recently? Some of them, in some cases, are very human-like. They look very similar. So why are we to say that, the jinn haven't created some robotics that behave or look like these little grey things, and they have a particular function that the jinn have created them for? Now that's speculation, of course, but how far we've gone with technology, we have to imagine that the jinn are much further than us. In fact, they've always been ahead of the game.
Let me ask you a question, bro.
Go on, bro.
You're insinuating the jinn have technology.
Yes.
What evidence do you have to insinuate such a thing, bro?
Okay, you definitely will do. Yeah. Okay, so the jinn, one of the traits that they have that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about is that they're builders. And that building capability is something that Sulaiman alayhi salam put to use. And they built things that humans couldn't build at that time. And that's always been the case. They are adept builders because I think, and this is just speculation, right? But they're a completely different type of creation to us. So there's certain things that we have to do in order to process materials to make things. So when we have to make a sword, it's very difficult. And there is some narrations out there, historical narrations of swords built by the jinn were much better.
Almost magical compared to human-built swords.
Yeah, because I think that they have less limitations than we do when it comes to processing materials like we do, right? So they built things for Suleiman, high rooms. What does that mean exactly? There's some speculation there.
Clear floors.
Yeah, see-through floors, as is mentioned in the story of Suleiman, made of glass, thick glass, with water running underneath it. Type of architecture and things that, we're only just realizing we can do today. And that was thousands of years ago. So how far ahead are they? Now, we can go to a report from Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, where he mentions one of these influencers who was working with the jinn. It gave him a device. This is mentioned in the book by Sheikh Umar al-Ashqar. Of course, when he wrote it in like the 70s or 80s when he initially wrote it. But he comments on this hadith. But anyway, the story goes that this guy said, this influencer, he said, my jinn gave me this thing, and it was a shiny and smooth like piece of glass, and it was over a liquid. And I used to, in one of the translations, it mentions that he said I could see the jinn through it and they could see me. And I would speak to them and they would give me answers when I'd ask it questions. So when you hear this device...
You got one of these, bro?
Yeah, I've got one right here.
He's got one here.
Mobile phone, boys.
He's using some
I don't know if it was...
bro.
Yeah, I don't know if it was this particular brand, right? But he describes a smartphone.
Yeah.
Essentially, he describes what we do with a smartphone. This man mentions in a narration in the 12th century. Why is that important? Well, if we accept that narration is what we call a smartphone, something you can speak to, you can see someone through it, can ask questions to one another. He said I could see the jinn, he could see me, and that in one case he said that they would show me my followers through it, so he could actually see his murids, his followers, and he would tell them what they did. Oh, was you at the farm and you fell over and you scratched your back, and they would say, how did you know this? And say,
Sit back. Do that again. Sit back and do it.
Yeah, one of those. One of the awliya, bro, and they believed them. Yeah. Because it was supernatural. They would say, whoa, there was some who used to be carried in the air by them. But this type of technology for them is primitive. It's 1,000 years old if they had it in the time of Sheikh al-Islam. So what have they got now? That's the question. And what are they hiding from us?
And how is it being used to manipulate modern man and woman who are desperate for such technologies, bro? Yeah. So that, I mean, see the dots add up, the connect, bro.
Yeah.
Everything adds up.
So when it comes to the greys, just to finalize the
Yeah.
question the brother asked. We don't have enough information to make a solid response. Are the greys a type of biological entity that was mixed with technology as some sort of drone, human-looking drone thing, or is it a creature that the jinn turn themselves into, a type of morphology that they take? Both are up for possibility, and there's more than that we can even add to
and
it.
there are strange things when it comes to, if you look at the folklore on greys, right?
Yeah.
Many times they're reported not to have sexual organs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, which highlights that if there can't be a biological being in the standard understanding of what a biological being is and how a biological being physiologically functions.
Yeah.
So that's a problem right there. It's almost like that would be something you'd expect from a entity that's just there temporarily holding a form,
like a drone.
Yeah, and like you said, jinn can be killed in physical form,
Yeah.
and they can appear in many different physical forms,
So,
right? So conceptually, it makes sense both ways.
yeah. And I think not having a rigid answer is good from an Islamic position, because both are possible from an Islam. There's nothing that goes against Islam with regard to this. So both are okay with us. We don't have an issue. Is it a human? Is it a drone that's been created by, or is it something it doesn't matter? And both are okay with us. We don't have an issue. I do want to mention one thing about the greys though. There's a number of people who are trustworthy back in the day who used to talk about them in the 50s and 60s, and they seem to have stayed pretty much the same, the greys, since. But we had quite a few whistleblowers in the 60s come forward, and they said that they don't have organs, and they seem to be able to be turned off. Well, there's one case where allegedly these things, at one famous event where they came out at Holloman and they fell down on the floor and they never moved again.
Yeah.
They didn't seem like they died. They just seemed like they were turned off. That's what they said.
And the question about, are you ruling out the possibility of, no, what's very interesting, knowing that the jinn can take physical form, actually doesn't rule out the jinn, and it doesn't rule out the biological possibility either. It actually it explains both. That's what's very powerful.
Hopefully that answered your question. We went quite deep on that one, but it was worth it. I think it's a good one, that one. Do you think, and we're going to go with you on this one, do you think the militaries of the world are trying to use the shayateen in modern warfare? Thinking of Russia, Ukraine, Israel, the Muslim world, etc.
Well, look, again, if you study the history, even if you look at this from a secular history perspective, there's some brilliant books on this topic. And it seems like, from what we know, that many of the leading superpowers of the world, especially you can say since post World War One, especially since post World War Two, have definitely been interested in strange things. The Germans were, the Russians were, most likely the Brits were, the Americans were definitely, right? And when I say strange things, in like astral projection, what's the other thing where you remote viewing? There were projects. These files have been declassified now.
Stargate project.
It's trying to contact these entities or these beings, what they call aliens, ET. So there's definitely been an attempt by, it seems like, when you study the people that have researched this topic, to contact such entities and beings. Even going back as far as the Enlightenment, bro. Many of the Enlightenment thinkers, the scientists, the psychologists, the biologists, the researchers, on public front, they were like, the secular way is the right way. It's all about the material. Let's focus on the world. Don't worry about God. Don't worry about the supernatural. None of it's true. But behind closed doors, they were practicing in occultism. They were trying to contact beings and entities. Jack Parsons is a brilliant example. We always mention it, bro. Jack Parsons was Aleister Crowley's #1 student, you can say. And Parsons, if anyone knows who this guy is, he's considered the founding father of rocketry, NASA, etc. He is known on record to be engaging in trying to contact these entities to receive downloads from them, downloads meaning information from them, so he can develop his technology further. He even is known and on record to have gone into the deserts of California and engaged in what was called the Babylonian workings, I think. There's these rituals to bring about these entities or invoke these entities. There's a clear example of a scientist, a rocket scientist, who is engaging in the occult. And funnily enough, it was around that time when he was doing these rituals in the desert that they had that flap of the 40s,
huge wave of
UFOs. And apparently, according to some researchers, the book that we were reading, End Times book, I don't remember what it's called, he interviewed one of the Collins elite, and basically what they said in a nutshell was, they assumed the link between Jack Parsons' activities in the desert, his dodgy activities in the desert, and the UFO collapse.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. The government. I mean, why wouldn't? I mean, put yourself in the position of a government. Yeah, you are the government, Farouk. You would try to find by any means necessary to get the upper hand against your adversaries.
Well, if you don't, someone else will. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, but if you found out Russia's doing it, you're going to say, "Where's our Stargate project? Where's our project trying to get in touch with?" So it's kind of like one begets the other. If you're not doing it, your enemy's doing it. So you kind of have to do it, and that's the attitude that these guys have. The thing is, as well, if you research this topic, even from our own sources, Sheikh al-Islam, rahimahullah, he talks about how alchemists would have strange things happen. These were people who were given the task by the leaders at their time. And, we know there's a lot of corruption among the Muslims, always was some, it was the party of the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the people who are other than that, right? But there were people out there who were astrologists, people who did things, that are questionable, but we hold them to a great light in modern times because, they made a lot of big steps in science and alchemy and so on and so forth. But they report in the time of Shaykh al-Islam saying that I would be, working on a plant, for example, and it would speak to me. A voice would come out from it and it would tell me, of the beneficial compounds within it and how to process so that they can get these beneficial compounds out. Very bizarre. But people who are in these programs in modern day say something very similar. One guy, he didn't say it outright because it's classified information, but he said, "What would you do if a craft spoke to you?" Very ominous thing to say. Matches very similarly with what Sheikh al-Islam said. Or imagine a living craft. We often, like if I wore a pair of skates, right? And I skated down the road past some ants, yeah, and then I left the skate on the side, and they come across the skate and they say, "We saw it flying along the road," and they get in there and they can't figure out how it worked because they didn't know my big fat foot was in it, right? So we sometimes we see these craft and we're enamored by how did this thing work, and it could have been a skateboard, bro, for a shaitan, you know what I mean? Or something similar where the propulsion is itself, but there's nothing else in there, but it's traveling 10,000 miles an hour, so it blows their mind. That's my point, that these people are under a lot of stress to protect their country, and as they view it, right? I mean, obviously we have different idea about how that really should look, but from their perspective, they'll do anything to maintain supremacy. And if that means cutting a few chickens and doing a few chants, they're going to do it because they want to keep keep supremacy. And if strange things happen, they're really going to want to research it. Okay, something weird happened, we heard a voice coming out from nowhere, let's look into this.
100%. Let's keep rolling, bro.
Mashallah. He also said afterwards something really nice. And may Allah bless you and protect you. Joe, that's you. Thank you very much. May Allah bless you and protect you as well. Okay, we've got another one here, brother. Where was he gone? Where are we gone?
He's further on.
Oh, I skipped right down, didn't it, bro?
Yeah, you chopped a few.
Dude, where's it gone? Where's Joe gone? I swear I saw his writing a minute ago, man. Dude, have we lost some of the comments?
No, it should be there. It's all of them there.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, we go. What do you make of the claim? Okay, here we go. Why do you think aliens are going to be released in recent times? What's the plan? Yeah, why do you think alien disclosure ATIP was released in recent times? Why now? What's the plan? I think that what's going on here is some disgruntled behavior from the inside. I think why disclosure, and that word, it carries with it some meaning, doesn't it? Yeah. When we say disclosure, it is an ongoing effort of people who have either directly worked inside what they describe as the legacy program, and that is the American program that has a long-standing interest in the UFOs and UAPs since the 1930s at least, and there's a lot of evidence just even before that. But they've been seeing these things since we became airborne fighters, since we made aircraft that we flew and fought with one another. These things have been around. So the Americans have for a long time. Quite poor quality, isn't it?
I think we're frozen.
Oh, we froze.
We are still live.
Are they hearing us?
You guys can still hear us. Let us
there we go. We're popping back, bro. There we go. We're back.
to keep on. It's just once it's, I think, rendered, once we're offline.
It'll
in
render it in a better quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inshallah. So as I was saying, so what was the question again?
Why now? Why?
Oh yeah. So why now disclosure? Yeah. So I think what's happened is because it's such a long-standing secret, there are people who are disgruntled who they believe they should have the clearance. It's kind of ego. I think there's a lot of people on the inside who think that, you know what, we should know more about this secret program, and we want the information. We want it to be released. And for whatever reason, there's a group who are holding on to this and don't want to release it. They're saying, no, it's too dangerous to let this information out. Mankind is better off just carrying on as the way they are and not knowing that these things exist. So you have these two parties. And I think what's happening is the people who held the power of the secrecy are dying. They're getting old and they're dying off. And as they die off, their influence disappears. We see that, brothers and sisters, right? Even in the modern day, there were some kings, should we say, who recently we used to probably think they weren't very good kings until they passed away, and then we saw, you know, what happened thereafter. So we do have experience with that, and I think that's what's going on in these legacy programs. The men who used to hold on to the keys of the program are passing away. They're getting old, you know, they're popping their clogs and they're ended up in the ground, like we all will one day, brothers and sisters, of course. But these guys are passing on, and then the ones who are underneath them, who are getting handed the keys to the program per se, don't have the influence, don't have the strength of those men who passed on before them. And then you've got these other guys who are trying to wrestle it out of their hands. So you've got these two real main parties. One party that wants to keep the secret going, and one party who wants to release it to mankind, both with their own individual intentions of why they want to do it. And I think it's important that we follow this emerging narrative so that us Muslims, we're prepared for it and we have our own response to it, inshallah.
Yeah, and you know what? I think another thing that prevents them from not wanting to put this out is because there's been acknowledgements, at least in the 50s, if I can remember correctly, that they know what this stuff is. It's, as John Keel referred to it, as paraphysical, right? So it's not a material ET entity from another plane. There were certain British agencies and American agencies who actually did reports on this, and they understood that this is not a physical thing. These are entities from a different plane of a different existence that are manifesting in this way, but they don't know what to do with this. So they decided to keep this hush. Like, how
do we figure it out?
No, but if you look at it from a secular perspective, bro, a materialist secular perspective, that is the philosophy that governs the world that we live in. How on earth are you going to explain a non-physical entity that lives amongst us, is aware of us, sees us, has been engaging? It's too much for people to swallow, bro. It will destroy their worldview. And you know, this whole thing about this is going to destroy religion, it's going to impact religion. No, it's not going to do that. From our perspective, from Islam, it's not going to do that at all. But for them, it's a huge problem. And that's what, like, what can they do? I mean, most of these people engaging this stuff, aside from the Christians that are in, you know, a part of the government, the college elite, etc., what are they going to do with it? They can't frame it for themselves. It's outside of the scope of their worldview. How are they going to understand? How are they going to communicate this to people? So that is the big problem. So I guess the guys that want to keep this hush hush, they just don't know how to narrate this to the world. You know, and it reminds me of you know, the new movie Disclosure Day by Spielberg. The trailers come out. He obviously knows a little bit more.
Of course he does,
well, at least he knows more than his first movie, you know, the Close Encounters movie back in the day.
And E.T. did, didn't he?
I mean, there's so much symbolism in that trailer, bro. And it seems like that the movie is going to also suggest that it's not as simple as extraterrestrials. Maybe this is an attempt to try to, you know, further drip feed. As drip feeding's been happening since 2017 anyway from the government. But even if you put the government side of stuff, stuff aside, this phenomenon, if you look at the literature and the research, even by non-Muslim secular academics on this stuff has been going on cross-culturally throughout history continuously, and it continues till today. It's not stopped. It's huge when you look at the literature, but every culture, every community in the world has accounts of non-human entities or intelligences which have contacted them, engaged with them, affected them, etc. What are you going to do with this? You can't just throw this away, bro. This is beyond anecdotal You know,
Sure.
this is actual. You can't deny how much recurrent reporting has happened throughout history from different people, from different backgrounds, etc., etc. So this is a real big problem, bro, for this for the secular elites of the world today. How to now spin this in a way which is palatable and doesn't throw the current world order out of whack.
Sahih.
And doesn't lead people to turn back to God and religion.
Yeah.
You know, how do we do that? That's the big challenge, I think, for these people. That's one of the biggest challenges for these
But
people.
also the phenomenon itself wants to stay secret.
Of course, yeah.
Like Iblis don't want people to know that he's knocking about, you know, in the halls of the Pentagon, right? You know what I mean? Knocking deals out. He don't want people to know this. So the shayateen themselves are keeping themselves secret from the rest of mankind, right? So it's definitely an interesting one, and I think following it and having a voice in it, like we're trying to be for the Muslim community, is important, right? So, Bismillah.
Let's go back up.
Let's go back up. Yeah, go on, mate. Hello. This sound may be okay. Where we at? What do you make of the claim that modern tech? Do you think? Okay, that's where we last were. What do you think, alien disclosure? Are angels and jinn in the same metaphysical realm, whereby they are undetectable by science? No.
That's a good question.
Yeah, but I'm going to be quite emphatic with that. Are angels and jinn in the same metaphysical realm? No. Yeah.
So there's two parts to the question you're breaking down.
So the first part is no, the angels and jinn are not in the same metaphysical realm. The jinn are in a different realm to the angels, and the angels are in a different realm to the jinn. The world of the angels supersedes all of the other worlds that they have access to by the permission of Allah, what Allah has given them access to. And they take the souls of the jinn as well as they take the souls of the human being. There can sometimes, and I've had discussions with this with people, and there seems to be a little bit of a difference of opinion. But I think what seems to fit the best is that in general, the jinn do not see the angels just like human beings don't. And only those evil marriage jinn who try to sneak and listen into what the angels say, so they have some way of trying to listen and sneak a listen, but the vast majority of jinn, no, they don't interact with or part of the world of the angels. The angels are completely different. There is a lot of speculation about these sort of topics, brothers and sisters, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to, he would have made very clear. But what is clear and what is indicated clearly is that the angels and the jinn are separate beings made of separate creation, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given carte blanche almost, shall we say, to the angels. They can travel freely to where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows them, whereas the jinn, they are restricted. They cannot travel into the world of the angels. They cannot travel up through the heavens,
especially after
like
the
angels.
revelation of the Quran.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, yeah, some scholars even take the position now that the two hadith, the one that mentions that them sneaking and listening from the Quran, going up into the heavens to listen, and the hadith mentioning them listening to the clouds, is a clear indication that now they're restricted to listening to the clouds to get information from the jinn. There's a different opinion there again, but point being is they're not in the same world. Absolutely.
What about the second part of that question to do with the scientific?
Yeah, go on. Oh, where's it gone now? There we go. Whereby they are undetectable by science. Okay, so are angels and jinn, so they're not in the same realm where they're undetectable science. Undetectable is a different question than unseen. Yeah, the world of the jinn absolutely has effect on the world of mankind. The waswasa, for example. Yeah, science might not be able to detect it, but you can detect it if you're aware when you have something implanted into your mind. You're walking. I always use this as an analogy, brother. I don't want to. If you want to answer this, I don't mind. Yeah, but sometimes you're walking along, you see someone who's begging. And you immediately think, what a loser. Why is he wasting his life? He's a young man, you know. And you don't give him anything. Then another time you walk down the same high street, see the same person, and you'll be inspired to do something good. You know what? If you were in that position, you'd wish someone to help you. Well, one is an influence of the devil, and one is the influence of the angel. You were the one who decided what to do with those influences, right? And if sometimes you think bad of a person and immediately you feel bad that you thought bad of them. Oh, I shouldn't think like that. You know, what if it was me, man? Oh, yeah, go and take it. You know, or you buy him some food or whatever you do, right? So detecting the jinn is a personal endeavor that we have to do ourselves, number one. Now extend that to science. Can human beings detect the jinn? Absolutely. It's mentioned in Quran, right? What did the Prophet, not mentioned in the Quran, excuse me, mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet, when he was went to educate and teach the jinn in one of the times that he went with the jinn, and it's clear that it's more than 2 times at least. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ, he took the Sahaba with him. Abdullah bin Masood, excuse me. Yeah, I always get confused. Abdullah bin Masood radiallahu anh, he said that one night we were missing the Prophet. And we were looking around for him. And we thought, and this is a great evidence, you mentioned this, mashallah, this is a great evidence for the existence of the idea of abduction from an Islamic perspective, because he said it was a strange thing. He was there and he went missing and we couldn't find him anywhere. We looked around, and these were expert trackers. You know, the Sahaba, they knew the desert, they knew how to track in the desert. So he was gone, he was missing. And this disturbed them. And they said, we thought he'd been killed, like his body taken, or that he had been abducted by the jinn. That's what they said.
Yeah, taken by the jinn. Yeah.
And subhanAllah, that was close to the truth. Rasul wasn't abducted, rather he went with them to educate them. And when he returned in the morning at Fajr time, they were concerned. They said, "Oh, Mr. Allah, we missed you and we couldn't find you, and we was really worried, you know, and we thought you had been killed or abducted." And he said, "You know, I went with them and I educated the jinn, and this is the markings of where they were." So the Prophet showed them markings in the ground, burn marks, and this is often associated with the UFO phenomena, that whenever these craft land, they leave burn marks and marks of fire on the ground, right? And of course, that same showed. So there is definitely some scientific indication of their existence, and as well as, you know, the way that modern technology works and what it's looking for, they can detect certain atmospheric things that don't fit in with the natural order of science. And these things we don't have a problem in saying,
or electromagnetic
fluctuations,
so infrared, ultraviolet, etc.
Yep.
So again, this goes into speculative, and we always important to highlight when we're going into channel speculation, basically.
Yeah.
But assuming they are, say, comprised of a plasma state, and not to get into the physics of it, which we barely understand ourselves, but but the point is that they can be giving off light and certain frequencies that are, and from modern technology, they may be able to pick up certain signatures or residue, you know, post, you know, etc. So and it also depends on what form they take it at any given time.
But the jinn do give off real things, like it's by those marks.
In the physical form, that's when people see them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and at that time, someone can technically study them. Yeah. But it's not as predictable as other things in nature.
No.
If these are intelligent beings, which they are, it will not be predictable patterns. Oh, they're going to appear at this time here, so we can go study. It doesn't work like that.
No.
But they can, some aspects of them, depending on what state they're in, etc., or what they leave behind as far as signs, can be picked up by some technology, possibly.
You can even say that I've seen a book fly off a shelf randomly, just like the throne came
so that's
from.
an effect, isn't it?
Yeah, the effects of the jinn can be studied and understood, right? Seeing their world and knowing their world, I think at this point, you know, it's impossible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shielded them from our purview. But to detect and to know of their existence in other ways, absolutely.
Especially when they're manifesting in certain ways.
Yeah. That's an interesting one, the manifesting. We've got more to come on these sort of topics, by the way, brothers and sisters, which is not quite there yet, inshallah. What else we got? What do you make of the claim that modern tech reverse engineered was seeded by jinn and communicating with humans? This is a very good question, because the predicament we have here is what we mentioned earlier about Shaykh al-Islam. When you read that story with knowledge of the modern smartphone, Dr. Imran Hussein, when he read it, he actually wrote underneath it, he said that it is possible that modern inventions like radio and televisions existed in their times and has been forgotten about. That's what he said. So he put it more in the hands of the human type thing, but he said that perhaps in those days we had something similar to radio and television that we just lost or has been missing, or that the jinn had, right? He kind of speculates a little bit on it. So we're not the first to make that assumption that perhaps this technology is from their world, that they've created as a device to trick us, or that they've seeded into our minds to help us invent, because they do that. It cause people to invent things by whispers, you know, like we heard about them, the jinn speaking through the plant life, saying, you know, I have beneficial compounds in me, you know, come and process me, mate, I might give you something, you know. So we do see that they encourage us to go down certain paths. Now, why is that? What's that relevant to modern technology? Well, For those of you who don't know, there is a quite a strong theory that a lot of modern technology, not all of it, but a lot of modern technology did derive from some artifacts that came out from the sky during the testing of nuclear weapons. So they were testing nuclear weapons in the Nevada desert area, and things came down that they weren't expecting to come down. Initially, they thought they were Russian, but later on, they discovered that these things were actually from another creature entirely. And from those artifacts, they did help push human beings towards certain technological discoveries. This is mentioned by a man named Colonel Corso. He is a gentleman who was part of the American Army, and his job was to take these artifacts and to give it to the most advanced tech companies in his time in the 1940s and 50s, and to seed them with this stuff and see if they could make anything from it. And they did. Apparently, there's a dispute about the origin of the silicon chip, but apparently the silicon chip is one of the things that they reverse engineered. Another one being fiber optics was another thing that allegedly that they reverse engineered from these things. But this doesn't mean that human beings couldn't have made these anyway. It is possible that because these are materials that we can recreate now, and that these are perhaps things that we had before and were lost, as Sheikh Omar al-Ashkar speculated, or it could be, like, as we just mentioned, something seeded from something else to misguide us. But what do we see from the effects of modern technology? There's been a lot of good, akhi.
Yeah.
And the shayateen and the jinn, their objective isn't to make us do good, but we also see, particularly with the mobile phone and modern phenomena, that a lot of people are becoming delusional, away from religion. As the Prophet ﷺ said, towards the end of times, there will be a little black fitna. This is small and it's black, and he said it's dark like the night sky, and this is about as dark as you can get the screen of a mobile phone. And he said it's dark like the dark of the night sky, and he said that during those days, people wake up believers and go to bed believers. They would, go to bed a believer and wake up a disbeliever. And he said in those times, it would end up being that you'd have two parties, the party of faith with no hypocrisy and the party of hypocrisy with no faith. And we do see that happen online, right? We see these fitna between groups, and some of the people, are following one way, and then there's other people are holding firm and steadfast to the Sunnah and to the Quran. So we hope that we're one of those people. But yeah, there does seem to be some authenticity to that, brother. But again, speculation, and whether we know that this is from the shayateen and the jinn or they're not, it's how you use this technology rather that really matters, isn't it?
Absolutely, bro. So you brothers have talked about this topic to many people in the UAP UFO space. I wonder what's their reaction to this. Generally, the reaction has been very positive, and that's what's kept us going on this topic. Because there's only so much there to communicate about this topic to the Muslim audience. I mean, let's be honest. Once you've showed them, okay, what's behind this is jinn, you've safeguarded the Muslims, at least from the perspective that they can interpret what's going on. So whenever if anyone does come out and say, oh, these beings created you, seeded you, you're like, no, we know what these beings are. They are creation themselves.
Yeah.
Done. But what we noticed was that there is a lot of interest from the non-Muslim community as well in regards to the jinn and the link between the jinn and this phenomena, which kept us going. And that's where the dawah opportunity is, bro. Like I said before, I've 15 years, I've been, alhamdulillah, been blessed to be involved in the dawah. I've yet to come across another topic which has garnered so much interest from the non-Muslim community. We do spaces on X, and 90 to 95% are full of non-Muslim guests. That doesn't happen in the dawah space. And they learn about Islam, and they learn what Islam has to say in regards to the UFO phenomenon from the jinn perspective, etc. This is powerful. Yeah. We also have had some, again, I have to be careful, so you have to cut me off if I say too much. Sure. We've also had a lot of interest privately, being contacted by certain individuals who are a part of, let's just say there's some of the movers and shakers, and they're a part of some big organizations studying this phenomenon, and they are very interested in this perspective. So that's happened as well. We can't say much yet, but again, that's an opportunity to share this information with us. And we have a very clear principle amongst us and the brothers, which is, if and when we do have these discussions with these people, we in no way, shape or form are going to bend or fold our position, because there may be a time where these guys want to, tone down the religious perspective. Don't talk about the jinn. No, That's not. Hence, we're not interested in anyone that wants to do this. We simply want to put out the perspective from an Islamic perspective that why we believe the jinn are behind this, and make this a means of education in general to do with Islam and to do with the topic of the jinn for non-Muslim audience. And I think that's very powerful. So the response overall, to summarize, has been phenomenal. And you know, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing in a way that we can talk about a very unspoken about topic, and there's so much interest by the non-Muslim community. That's how because they experience things and they go through stuff. You know, so they're more than happy to listen and see this perspective. And
they're also quite. We've had a few messages from people who have been refreshed to have an Islamic approach that isn't quote unquote rammed down their throat, as they mentioned. Because sometimes, because of the way Islamic apologetics works, it builds a lot of confidence in people. So they feel very confident to sit up on a screen like this and just batter some geezer, you know, verbally, academically, and just humiliate people. So a lot of people go up quite sincere, and I've seen some videos where I think that guy seems sincere, but the da'i, for want of a better word, he just doesn't see it, and he just completely crucifies the guy on the live, and the person's just brutalized and leaves and hurt, you know. And it can become emotional for people. So we had some people reach out and say it's really nice to see this side of Islam, because we're not combative, we don't shoot people down. You're going to have a lot of people who've had a lot of strange things happen to them. They've seen things and experienced things, and then they've accepted that these things have happened to them, and they've contextualized it in their own world. So when they hear a different perspective, it can be jarring for them. Like, I've seen things, and they took me from my room when I was little, and it's very, very emotional things that happen to them. So you have to be very merciful and understanding that such strange paranormal things and beyond you know, supernatural, this can really flavor somebody's worldview. And when you're dealing with that, you have to be very understanding of that. So we tend to come with a very soft approach, right?
And it's been refreshing, like you said, from a Dawah perspective.
One more thing I want to mention. So sorry, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
We did have somebody reach out to us, and you can cut me off if I'm going too far here.
I'll kick you under the table.
Yeah, kick me under the table. We had a Muslim brother. Man, I make it easy for him. He made some choices when he was young to join certain military endeavors in the country that he's from, and as part of that military endeavor, he ended up getting placed in the Middle East, and he worked for a program.
Don't say the names.
I won't. He worked for a program, and that program was one of these type of legacy programs. Okay. So we've had whistleblowers reach out to us. We're not going to mention his name or what force he worked for and things like that. But if you guys out there are aware of these sort of things, and you want to talk and reach out to someone, we are here for you, inshallah. We keep everything secret. But what's surprising about it is that, you know, once he found out we existed, he had someone to talk to about it. It could be very lonely, brothers and sisters. If you know, maybe you are Muslim, you're very clever, and you were recruited when you were, you know, in university to work for certain companies and certain programs, and you didn't know what you were doing initially, because quite often you don't, until you start, you know, getting read into different programs, you get different clearances. It happens here in the UK too. So if that's you, or if you know somebody who's part of these sort of programs, and you want to get some advice and things like that, you can reach out to us. We're open to do that, inshallah.
That question by Muslim Wolfie, there's 2 parts to it. Maybe you want to do it together.
Okay, hello, this may sound a bit out of topic. Could it be, yeah, that's why I read it. Could it be that some jinn may have had a large effect on the purposeful corruption of the scripture, attempting to cause doubt in religion? So skeptics point to issues in religious books, typically the Bible, where there may be inconsistencies and inaccuracies, we'll call it. Sometimes it feels too much as if it's a conspiracy to put down religion. It's a good point. And so I see more of a point being made there, but I would agree with that to a certain extent. Paul is probably the greatest example of that. Right?
Yeah, he had a vision on the road to Damascus, which he interpreted as Jesus.
Yeah, he did interpret it.
And we know
James weren't happy though, was he?
No.
James didn't agree with the new gospel.
We know Iblis can appear in the form of keep humans
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
and he has. There's narrations of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another discussion. We can
Yeah.
get into that later.
But yeah, I do think that's probably what's gone on there. You got to remember as well, when a book is inspired by the word of God, yeah, it's open to any sort of inspiration, isn't it? So you can turn a man into a god with such inspiration, and that's actually what happens. So yeah, I think you're kind of right there, Muslim Wolfie. And you know, we ask Allah to keep us on the straight path. What else we got here? We've got
And, you know, just as you're looking through it, bro, what's unique about Islam from this perspective is that when you read the Quran, you know, it's very clear as far as the position of the jinn is concerned, that these are created beings. It's very clear as far as who Iblis is. It's very clear as far as how he's our enemy and how he would mislead us and take us away from the straight path. It's very clear as far as who Allah is, the creator. You know, so to claim that, and some people make this claim that what if these evil deceptive NHI were the ones that reveal the Quran? Well, when you do a serious study of the Quran, you see that it's impossible to claim that. Yeah. Because if you were to claim that such deceptive evil creatures were to reveal the Quran, they wouldn't be deceptive or evil. You know, because the Quran tells you, warns you against them. Yeah. You know, it tells you to protect yourself, exposes them essentially. And they want to remain hidden, and then the Quran exposes them. Furthermore, if someone does dream up an idea that, oh, okay, it's not an evil NHI, it's a good NHI. Well, the point there is then, well, what the mere fact of them, if it's a good NHI that's disguising themselves as the creator of the heavens and the earth, well, then that itself is deception. Yeah, because you're lying. So you can't be lying. Is morally incorrect. It's evil, right? So it doesn't make any sense to claim such a thing. It's also funny, isn't it? I imagine that book's from the devil. Oh yeah, why? Well, it tells you to do charity. It tells you to fast. Yeah, it tells you to pray. How devilish is that? Ridiculous, isn't it? You know, that's the. By the way, how many times you read in the Quran? Those who pray and pay zakat. Those who pray and pay zakat. Don't pray and pay zakat. The whole thing is about don't follow in the footsteps of Shaitan. Like, how more clear do you need to be? Who is Iblis? Iblis's origin stories, you know, his hatred towards man is exposed and outlined for us. You know, where it all started, why his motives are outlined and exposed for us. It's not, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, let's carry on. No, I love it. So go another 15 and then. Yeah, whenever you want to go, bro. I'll keep going. While Faruq is looking through, you want to maybe select. Yeah, go on, we'll go through. If you haven't already, the booklet, the Jinn Hypothesis booklet is out. You can download it for free, inshallah, on the Sapiens website. The downloadable version is there. Oh, I need to mention, there is the real book you can get on Amazon, but some people thought that we were doing a money grab, didn't they? In one of the maybe I shouldn't mention it, but to be honest, there's no money involved. It's whatever you pay. It's like £3, £4. Print per pay. Nothing is cut. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't go to anybody. Our brother Bilal, mashallah, he runs the back end. As far as I know, none of the booklets that Sapiens puts out on Amazon make any money that comes into Sapiens. It's all print on demand, basically. Yeah. So it's whatever it is, $3.90 something. I asked them, can you make any cheaper? He said that's how much Amazon is charging, maybe based on the size of this particular. There is also quite a lot of note pages at the back, but the reason is that so we could buff it up to get it out. Buff it up, and then obviously gives you an opportunity to make your notes. And we're very clear. It says there as well. It's a booklet. It's an introductory booklet, inshallah. So keep that in mind when you check it out. It's about 40 pages, 35 pages of content around that, 30 to 35. So check it out, inshallah. It's on Amazon, or you could download the PDF for free on the Sapiens website, inshallah. We've got next Ronex. Why don't jinn reveal themselves in a large scale? Because they don't want to. Because they simply don't want to. Yeah, it will defeat. It's like their strength is in their hiddenness, if you like. Let's ask this question: why don't we reveal ourselves completely to the germs that live inside our body? There's a lot to be said about it. So, but that's a good question, because I see why, you know, but they don't want to, and this is something which a lot of the UFO groups kind of say, you know, that's why they're not benevolent. When people say they're benevolent, they're kind, they're loving, if they truly wanted this to come out, they could fly a number of UFOs and land in the middle of Leicester Square tonight, right? But they don't, because they're not allowed to, because whoever their leadership is among their people, they've been told not to do these sort of things. So there seems to be certain non-human intelligences, the jinn, who are targeted by Americans, by British, to take them out of the sky. This is a fact. This is, and I say fact because it's been documented so many times, and there's so much evidence. There's videos of them being shot out of the sky. So
some of them are targeted and some of them aren't. They're just left to fly over nuclear bases in America and nobody tries to shoot them down. So, you know, there seems to be an allegiance between some, and this is mentioned in Quran, but there's some humans who have an allegiance with them. And therefore this allegiance seems to be part of it being keep stum, don't talk about us, and, you know, we'll reveal with you some information. So there we go. That was next
stream freezing a lot. Sorry, brothers and sisters, if it's freezing. Hopefully once it's done, it will render. And there'll be a better quality version that's uploaded. It's just the live. My signals are up and down, bro. It's just
I mean, I've got pretty good signals, man. If you wanted, you could have jumped on mine, bro.
It's a long process, bro. Signing in.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a long one,
so we can't get hold of it.
Yeah. So the next one, we got Aaron, bro. Mashallah, brother Aaron. He's one of the legends who's part of the IREP crew. I think he's in the WhatsApp group. Mashallah, jazakallah for joining us, Aaron. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Before you move on, bro, tell them where they can join the WhatsApp group. So anyone that wants, that has, you know,
if you can, brothers and sisters, jump onto the IREP. In fact, I will put a little chat in the bottom there. IREP.world. I will do it from the IREP YouTube channel. Will that come out with it?
Should do.
Oh yeah, there we go. I'm in the bottom there where our YouTube channel is called IREP-World. The website is called IREP.world. If you go onto IREP.world, you will find a link to the WhatsApp group there, inshallah, and you will be able to join us and get in part of the discussion and share videos and share thoughts. And it's active. It goes up and down. Sometimes really active, sometimes it's not. But it's just for our brothers and sisters out there to be part of it who are interested in this topic, who are part of the community. Sometimes we have a little debates get on in there. You know, it does happen. Some people are very much more on the side of it being an ET visiting. If you're a Muslim and you have those thoughts, it might be ET. Hopefully we can convince you otherwise. But if you don't accept, it's fine. You can still stay in the group and discuss with us. It's not a problem. It's an interesting topic to follow. So come join us in the WhatsApp group there if you like. Who's next? We've got Aaron there. We did Aaron.
Jinn Wi-Fi. It's like giving an upgrade to Jinn Wi-Fi just to...
Our digitals go, we're all watching this through our smartphones. Yeah. Do jinns build things for humans before sihr was revealed to humanity? Okay. It's a decent question. Allahu A'lam. What do you think? I don't know.
I don't know.
Allah knows best on that one. Wa alaikum salam. Here we go. Brilliant discussion. Stream freezing. Yeah, brothers need to upgrade to Jinn Wi-Fi. Absolutely, Aaron. We need that. We need that instantaneous Wi-Fi. Yeah. If they could bring a phone, I'm sure they could bring a bit of Wi-Fi signal, man. That answers my question. Yep, you're most welcome, Dower Didge. Are you planning to present your case to the UNIFO community? Any contact or interest from your work? This is a good thing to segue into the conference that's coming up.
Yeah, so we have a conference, brothers and sisters. It's predominantly going to be for a Muslim audience because there was a group of Muslim sisters, mashallah, in Sheffield that have organized this, but it's open to non-Muslims as well. We've invited a few of our non-Muslim brothers and sisters in humanity who are interested in our position and this perspective. So that's going to be in Sheffield on the 10th of January. There's a poster for that. You should find it on the Sapiens X account. You may find it on the post it, and you can find it in the IREP page as well. I just posted it a little while ago. It's on the 10th of Jan in Sheffield. If we can bring out Faruq as well.
Yes, 10th of January, Sheffield.
And then what we're planning...
Muslim Art Organization.
Yes, a Muslim Art Organization. And what we're planning is another conference later in the year, maybe like Feb, March, April time in London. And we're going to try and invite more of the non-Muslim guests. But generally, like we mentioned earlier, we've had some engagements, some private, some public. Generally speaking, the response has been good. There's been some people that have been very good to us and help promote our work as well over X and stuff. You know, so it's been really good. And other things have shut down, and it's expected. People have gotten excited and then disappeared, etc. That's happened a lot. So there are certain people that it seems like they have been given the orders not to listen to what we're saying and to engage with us. That's all I can assume based on how many times we've been shut down, basically, which is fine. We'll keep pushing and promoting this stuff. This is why you guys sharing these videos, you know, getting the booklet, leaving a comment on Amazon, all of this is going to push this narrative forward and hopefully get this message out to more.
We have to say this though, apparently, and this isn't just meager speculation. There's some evidence for this, but people on the inside tend to be from one of two main groups. Not all of them, but there are some Christians. Absolutely, they call them the Collins elites, and you know we would see them as more in line with what we sort of think about it. But then the two other groups really are the Latter-day Saints or the Mormons. They seem to be heavily involved in these programs and very interesting, and also Scientologists. So we have heard that there's some groups on the inside, when they know we're talking about the Jinn hypothesis as a potential candidate for who these non-human intelligences are, and they don't want to encourage, you know, other speculations outside of their own. They're very reserved about their beliefs. You know, they don't really talk about their own beliefs. They kind of keep it in the realms of science. But as the topic becomes more not confirmed, but as disclosure becomes more of a reality, I think the question of what these things are is what's going to come up. And we have a very strong hypothesis. I think that's where some other places lack, isn't it? Having an actual clear, concise mentioning of what they are. They can speculate that it's angels, and some of them do, or they speculate that it's demons, and some of them do, but they don't have that answer for the benign, non-angelic creatures that visit. So yeah, we have that answer. So I think that's kind of why we do get the kibosh hitting us. Next up, we've got Great Life. Thank you very much, Alpha. Making the team proud. If that's what I think it is, may Allah bless you, brother. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. I think that's a fark, MashaAllah, tabarakallah. But it might not be, so I'm just guessing. He said, making the team proud. Golden Gully, MashaAllah, makes great food. May Allah bless him. He says, thoughts on Surah Sa'ad 38 to 37 about builders and divers. This is actually a fascinating area of research, Brother Golden Gully. It's something that we've spoke about extensively before, but it is one of the main aspects of the jinn that has been kept secret by the insiders. They said that, you know, the aerial phenomena is one that comes up a lot, and it's spilled. The beans are being spilled on that a lot more. But when it comes to the USO, the unidentified submerged object, this is of great secrecy in the American Navy. And it has some of the most sophisticated technologies working on retrieving craft from the sea floor. So they do watch these things come from outer space, through the air and into the oceans. And many of the people who are interested in this topic in the American government, such as, Representative Burleson and Representative, what's his name? The guy from South America, you know the one
Are they talking about?
yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we're bad with names with Imran. Yeah, oh yeah, no. Oh, I can put it up. In fact, let me put it up. Yeah, but he was recently saying that a lot of Navy personnel have come forward to him, talking about a number of bases being under the water that these things go to, and apparently the world knows about it. Russia knows about it, Britain knows about it, America knows about it, China knows about it, and they keep it all secret from one another. They have an agreement to keep these things secret because of the nature of these bases and where they are, and they're located very deep in the ocean, but apparently they're all aware of it. So yeah, absolutely, Golden Gully, talking about Surah Sa'ad, bringing up the fact that they're builders and divers. This is foundational beliefs for us. So we believe absolutely when Allah said that they build and that they dive, these are two aspects of the jinn that we cannot deny. These are realities of the jinn. And it just so happens that we see in the UFO/UAP phenomena /USO phenomena, both building and diving.
So absolutely, bro. It's one of the central ayat, isn't it? It clarifies or highlights to us that the jinn are far. Burchett, yeah.
Didn't even need to write it. I just remembered. Burchett. Representing Burchett. I kind of, we're kind of more closer with Burchett in his way of doing things. Yeah, I definitely know he doesn't like Muslims. He's probably anti-Muslim, man. Yeah. But if we got a chance to sit with him and talk to him, I think we could turn him to being a bit more merciful towards us. He's looking from a Christian perspective, right? And we're with him on that. Yeah. You know, we're much more aligned with the Christians in our view. Yeah. Perhaps in some of the others more atheistic approach of course, it, you know. Yeah, because at least they're on the right trajectory as far as what this stuff is. Absolutely. But that verse is central, bro. Yeah. Builders and divers. Yeah. I mean, Muslims just generally. I mean, and again, it comes to that most of the sort of general framework of what a jinn is to us is like a supernatural ghost or entity, a demon that possesses. And we stop there, but we don't realize that even in the Quran, there's so much more that we are informed of when it comes to the jinn. And because we don't know this stuff, we miss certain things when it comes to their manifestations in the world. So yes, a very powerful verse. I've gone to your channel briefly, brother. We'll go back to the other one in a moment. The craft. Okay, so we've got someone here. Certainly, we're not aware. All beings created floating around us. The crafts driven on anti-gravity engines are not jinn. Well, maybe, maybe not. Allah knows best. That one, it's all speculation.
But then it's also this is you know, the whole thing about anti-gravity crafts and that these craft then some sort of bubble which keeps them free from the gravity of the surrounding environment, i.e. the earth, etc. This is all speculation, right? It's coming from a physics standpoint. I mean, they're trying to explain what they're seeing, and that's the interpretation they're giving. You know, the assumption is one that and a lot of times the assumption is someone sees a light, it's a craft, right?
Yeah.
There are bases. This is technology. We see such language that's being used. And again, it's not surprising because we live in a techno-secular age. That's our frame of reference. So when you see a light in the sky, people will say, oh, craft, because normally things that fly through the sky are technological craft. These are assumptions. These are sociological, assumptions that have been made currently. There's no necessarily evidence that if you see a light in the sky, there's actually a craft.
No.
When you see one of these orbs or UAPs. At the very least, I mean, if we were to be very objective and direct about it, we're seeing lights that are flowing around.
So,
it does. And also, they acknowledge the problem with these things being craft, because when they do like 90-degree turns and fly at 10,000 miles an hour and stop on a dime, etc. They know from a physics standpoint, whatever's inside is going to be omelette, basically. It's going to be paste,
jelly, bro.
Exactly. So it's this assumptions that can only take you so far.
Yes, sir.
The natural assumption, if you see a light, it's a light. That's moving in really funny ways that seems to defy the laws of physics, etc. So
even the idea, like you said, about the anti-gravity. Look, we see the triangles, we've seen the saucers, we see the tic-tacs. These are three sort of typology or morphologies of the actual thing. The fact is, there's speculation. Oh, the triangles are reverse engineered, and this is until we have one of them in front of us doing what they say, it could easily be a disinformation campaign. The problem
100%.
is with this topic, and Imran, there's so much disinformation. Even the whistleblower who reached out to us, we spoke about earlier, he could have simply been a disinformation agent to come and visit us. So we can't say for sure anything is certain, except what, like Golden Gully mentioned, is mentioned in the Quran. This is an absolute certainty. So if we see triangles going from space through the air into the ocean, behaving in this all-domain manner, this transmedium travel, we could safely say it's a jinn.
How many times do you hear about these people that report triangles to trying to make the claim that they're reverse engineering? How many times do they report on the accounts of where these triangles have changed into squares and circles and orbs and eggs?
Changed shape.
In midair. Come on, how do you explain that then? Right? So those are actual reports as well. They're as valid as other reports. And most people don't hear about these, right? These supposed physical craft are shifting shapes in midair.
And imagine your job is to be counterintelligence. You would want your enemies to think that whatever's flying over their secret bases is yours. It sounds, we've reverse engineered this thing, and so people start believing, oh, this American tech has been reverse engineered. It's a great way to build cover and to shake up your enemies, thinking, we've got to be careful with these guys. They know, they've got this technology, when in reality, it's not even yours. Okay, here I have a question: are the entities people see and interact on psychedelics like DMTs, like DMT, jinn?
This is a question.
This is a common question as well.
That is a good question.
I'll be honest, Shakhi, I've had debates with some brothers on this topic. My own personal thing is, you cannot possibly know for sure what is happening when you're on DMT. The reason you can't, even if it is repeatable, that you take it, you see these things, they tell you things, and this and happen, and it happens. What is stopping? What is happening? Could simply be explained that you're tuning into an ongoing TV channel in another dimension. It's that ridiculous, because everybody sees the same thing and they have similar experiences. It doesn't necessitate that it's another creature visiting you. You are simply opening yourself up to something which you don't understand. The jinn could make these things happen to you or show themselves in that way, absolutely. Or it could be something less than that. It's simply that you're like tuning into a type of frequency that your brain is creating this thing each time that you do it. So there's a lot to be researched, I suppose, from
it could be a
variety of things
going on. It could just be purely physiological, bro.
Exactly.
These drugs
do this to your brain,
trigger a certain part of your brain, which releases a certain chemical or hormone, which then manifests in your mind, or the eye of your mind in a certain way, which is similar to it. Could be that, or it could actually be that certain filters that are there in normal conscious day-to-day activity. These drugs suppress them or open some doors in your mind, which then opens you up to engaging with another aspect of reality. Allah knows best, bro.
Yeah, that's what I like to say. We don't know for sure, and anything is possible because you're disrupting the natural order of your mind.
Yeah, which is not a good thing advised.
No, yeah. And to take anything that happens when you do that as a truth or as a reality or as a fact is dangerous, because what if you see something that you interpret as angelic? It could cause huge issues and problems. Because we know the nature of the jinn is to misguide and misdirect and trick, and all it takes, and a lot of people who take these illicit drugs come out of it in a euphoric manner, and they say it's changed their life and it's made them a better person, and they see it as almost a divine intervention of some description. So it's very dangerous, brothers and sisters. I can't stress enough, don't get involved in that sort of thing.
That, and don't get involved in practicing CE5 and other protocols
to reach out to these
things.
We had a woman, do you remember? Do you want to tell the story?
There was a non-Muslim lady who reached out and said, look, I was engaging in listening to some tapes, which were, some sort of training on how to engage in a higher plane or whatever the thing was. And when she started doing this, she started to encounter these beings and entities in the house, and they were troubling her and her kids. And you spoke to her and you gave her some things to play in her house from the Quran, etc. And I think it had a positive effect, alhamdulillah, right? And then contact was cut.
And then we cut,
Even recently, the brother that told us, he was, during COVID lockdown, he was engaging in practicing CE5. He was bored, and he started to see orbs and lights in his house and outside of the house. And he has kids, and he was worried about it. And then what he did was he started playing the Quran, reciting Quran in the house, and it slowly died down. Alhamdulillah. So you see, these are case studies where a guy engages in CE5, sees UAP, in what they were referred to as UAP, orbs, metal spheres, lights in the sky, lights in his house, etc. And then he plays Quran, recites Quran, and this stuff goes away. Again, I mean, what goes away like that? This is a type of ruqya. It's a type of removing jinn. So point being, don't engage with this stuff. Don't mess around with this stuff. You don't want to be doing that. And like we said, the objective of us covering this topic, like we've known this. You've known this for over maybe 2-3 decades of your life, right? You didn't go public with this stuff.
No.
I've been looking into this for at least 5 years or so, right? We didn't go public. Even when we started talking, we didn't go public.
No, we didn't.
We waited until it reached the critical mass point where
it was, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, like everyone's talking about it. There's congressional hearings. There's people saying, "Oh, it's going to affect religion. It's going to impact religion." Okay, no, it's not. We're going to speak about it and we're going to put it out there. And if anything, it's not only that this stuff doesn't affect Muslims or Islam if understood, but Islam has some answers for people that you're not going to find outside of Islam. You're not going to find them. You're not going to find them through physics or philosophy or anything other means when it comes to this reality of these entities. But yeah, don't. So the balance here, bro, and again, maybe you can articulate this better. Like we said in the beginning, there's no harm in studying the topic of the jinn, because this is something Allah speaks about and encourages us to study, but study in a way that's beneficial to you. So learn the tricks and ploys of shaitan and learn how to protect yourself against these things. Don't go down unnecessarily rabbit holes just for the sake of it, where you're trying to contact these beings, do these protocols, all of this stuff, because you're not going to achieve nothing by it. But also realize this is a powerful means of dawah. You'll realize more and more people online are talking about this stuff, engaging in this stuff. You can give them dawah through this. You can teach them about the jinn and how it relates to the phenomenon, etc. But just be careful, because it is one of those things.
Sorry. And if you'd like to learn a bit more about how to engage with people and talk and do the da'wah as it was, get involved with IREP. Jump on to our website, irep.world, go on there and you can join our WhatsApp groups. And nothing's free, everything's free. We're not charging anything for anybody, right? Even the stuff we're going to do in the future and the booklet and things like that, it's all going to be just a cost. We're not in it to make money. We actually want to help people. If you have had a lifelong experiences with these things, you had abduction phenomena when you were younger, it's quite common in children, and I say common, like it's not common, but you find more children are being abducted than adults, shall we say. So if you've had those sort of phenomena throughout your life and you want to talk to people about it and come to terms with it and understand it, please reach out to us. You know, these are things that we also want to discuss with our brothers and sisters, as well as non-Muslims. You're a non-Muslim and you've had those experiences and you're trying to come to terms with it. Reach out to us. We want to talk to people and and figure out a way to help understand it, because it can be a lifelong thing where they come back to you over time.
And that's a beautiful point, bro, because not always do jinn manifest in the form of possession,
Not always.
or waswasa, right? And the problem is that if you don't recognize how else they may present themselves to you, you may not seek out help or a remedy because you haven't experienced the typical signs, right? So it's important to, because it may be that someone doesn't get a possession, but their attachment or possession type is where they're seeing lights and orbs and all of these types of abduction type phenomena. And I think it's important to make those links, bro, so people can be aware.
Missing memory, we call it missing time in the UFO world, but missing memory in the Islamic world. The jinn have some sort of way of affecting your memory. They can affect your dreams as well. Sometimes you think you had a dream and it was reality, or sometimes you think you was in reality when it was actually a dream. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah talks about it as well, how people said that they were pulled through the walls of their house, you know, in an abduction phenomenon. And they said, and I would become confused and I'd find myself outside later on, like after time has passed. So that missing time and being taken through solid objects and things, these are all phenomena that the jinn seem to, you know, manifest on human beings. So if you're suffering with anything like that, or you're struggling, or you did reach out and you did something wrong, you know, that you did do some of these protocols and you feel bad about it, come talk to us. We do the best we can to help you, inshallah ta'ala. We take a few more questions, bro. I think we roll up. Page, we've got one quick question here. It's a quick answer as well. Which battle is fiercer, Muslim humans vs devil humans, or Muslim jinn v devil jinn? Allah knows best, man. We're pretty ferocious when we drop our atom bombs on, you know, Nagasaki and such. So, but yeah, Allahu a'lam. They definitely fight between one another. We know this from the hadith as well. So may Allah give victory to the ummah of Muhammad, whether they be man or jinn. What else we got here? We've got, how much of UAP jinn encounters are visually planted by the jinn? Can they visually plant things in humans, do you think? Oh, great question.
Ibn Taymiyyah mentions this.
Absolutely.
Create almost illusions or visions in people's minds. And they can see, you know, show them things, etc. So some of this stuff may just be a visual distortion more than a reality of being taken somewhere. So it could be a whole spectrum.
You're right in saying that. And I think that needs a lot more effort in answering correctly, but absolutely, they do. And it's a very bizarre thing. So understanding their world, we can't really fully, but definitely they have some sort of manipulation of the mind and things that we see. Will we be able to see the jinn in their true form in al-akhirah? I believe so, yes, because there's a report. The strength of the report is in question, but that report does say that the human beings will see the jinn in al-akhirah the way that the jinn used to see the humans. So the jinn will not be able to see us in al-akhirah the way that we can't see them in the dunya. So it'll be a role reversal. But with that in mind, yes, it's more than likely we're going to see them in the form that they're going to be in Jannah. So we're going to be in a different form in Jannah, and they too will be in a different form in Jannah.
One question that's missing, and it's right there, bro.
Oh, which one?
It's that one there.
The bottom one.
Jinn, human offspring.
You know what? This has been on a hot topic this week, hasn't it?
Put the disclaimers out. It has been a hot topic, bro. It came up yesterday as well.
Yeah, it's a hot topic. So, are humans superior to jinn? If yes, how? Okay, that's a spectrum question, right? So I think the answer to that wouldn't. There's not much benefit in knowing either way. So, what do you mean superior? Do you mean
in which way?
Yeah, in which way? Like who's better? Yeah, running the planet Earth. Humans. Allah made us the viceroy. He gave us a responsibility over the jinn. So we are
special creation.
We're different. We're different. That's a good thing of saying it.
The comparison, I don't think, but I think there's misconceptions out there that the jinn are they're stupid, or they're not intelligent, and there's this stuff out there.
Correct.
And my response normally to that was the dalil for the fact that they are intelligent is the fact that Allah addresses them in the Quran. So if the Quran is cognizant to them, they can understand the Quran. That means that they have a level of intelligence. that they heard the Prophet ﷺ, they heard the Quran, they accepted it, and they carried it back to their tribes. You can't say such beings that have the ability to understand revelation from Allah are not intelligent.
No.
But then again, there's, like we said, there's probably a whole spectrum of jinn and communities and different jinn with different abilities and all. There's a whole.
You're gonna have low IQ jinn, bro.
Of course, and you're gonna have high IQ jinn.
You're gonna have high IQ
You're gonna have,
Dude, some people you might even question their humanity. They're that low IQ. They're just absolutely horrible people. They're evil and they don't think things through and they don't care what people do. And you think, this is more like a devil than a human.
Yeah.
And likewise, you're gonna have jinn who people may see them as so beautiful and kind and nice and helpful. You see them like an angel. They're not.
Yeah.
Some people do that with humans, innit? They say that man's like, he's like an angel or she's like an angel, you know?
Yeah, they are good jinn.
Yeah.
And there are very rare occurrences where good jinn may manifest.
Very rare.
Some that we came across when we were going through this stuff, but it's always with the good objective, which is leading people to Allah. That seems to be the only time that they emerge to human beings.
Yeah.
Because aside from that, there is no purpose for a good jinn to engage with a human being. Like, you can't seek benefit from them.
No.
You know, and they don't want to do anything which will mislead you from Allah. So that engagement will be almost a non-engagement.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to happen in that type of thing, that engagement. So you can see that why these occurrences would be very rare. But hence, normally, most occurrences with jinn are with the evil jinn.
Exactly.
Do you want to address that question?
Yeah, we'll go with this one. So
Can
Nabs 5538 asked the big question: can humans and jinn produce offspring with each other? So this is.
I'll leave you to this.
Dude, you gotta run off on that one. So look, you got this one here, bro. Unopened. I didn't open it. Yeah, you're not running away from this one. I have heard conflicting reports. That's what Nab says. Yes. For a simple answer, absolutely yes. This has been discussed by the scholars. I think the evidence is overwhelming that it can happen. There's two main evidences for this. Yeah, there's one in the Quran, and this is what the scholars. It's more of an inferred evidence rather than a direct evidence. But Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says that He is created for man and jinn. Yeah, for their pleasure, the hurun ain. So there seems to be some sort of biological compatibility between, or compatibility. I won't say biological, but there seems to be some compatibility between man and jinn with regard to the hurun ain. So that's the first thing that the scholars normally bring up when it comes to this topic. The second evidence that they use, there's a weaker hadith. It is a weak hadith, but the Prophet ﷺ said that there are those human beings who have a strain of the jinn in them. And it's a particularly odd hadith because it uses words, like strain example. And Aisha, she questioned, what do you mean by those who have the strain of the jinn in them? And he said, those that which, when a man and a woman get together, the shaitan, he participates in it as well. Yeah, and so that offspring that comes out seems to have a strain of the jinn in them, which is rather strange because generally when you look at a child, they will have the DNA of the mother and the DNA of the genetic makeup of the mother and the father. I'm not a third. This is very unusual. This is where it gets strange, brothers and sisters. There are people who have been researching this particular side of the UFO phenomena for many years. There are a number of individuals out there who have had these strange cases at night, or where they've been attacked, or not necessarily always attacked, but where one of these creatures has done some things, questionable things, and it's produced an offspring. And unfortunately, there is some medical evidence and genetic evidence for that, and they've found in some cases, very rare cases, it's very rare, but where the child will share a third genetic makeup of an unknown origin. This is something that's been discussed by the scientists who deal with these sort of biological mysteries, and it's something that we're currently researching ourselves. So we'll have more to add to this. But from an Islamic perspective, certainly there's the Quranic ayah. There's another Quranic ayah where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says that He will, as in Shaitan, will certainly share in them of their offspring, among other things. But so the scholars use that as an evidence, and then they talk about certain cases. There's some allude to it possibly being that Bilqis, which is the Queen of Sheba, that apparently there's some suggestion that perhaps she was half female, half jinn. Allah knows. I wouldn't like to say for sure because she's mentioned in the Quran. We wouldn't want to dishonor her by saying something about that's not true. But the scholars did discuss this. And there have been in pretty much every book about the jinn, you'll see this topic come up, and it does happen. Now, what do the scholars say about it? Number one, most of them say it's makruh.
Those type of relationships.
Yeah, them type of relationships. So if you find yourself being seduced by an unseen being, somehow in some strange way, that you know, some unseen things coming into your house and grabbing hold of you, seek refuge in Allah. Boot it out, man. But there have been cases in countries like Pakistan, like the Middle East as well, where some have been married to the jinn. The scholars have spoke about it. They say it's disliked, it's makruh, and some even went as far as saying it's haram, you're not meant to do it. And the reason they say that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that it's created for you spouses from among yourselves. So they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to, the humans to be with the humans, the jinn to be with the jinn. So can it happen? Yes. Is it off common? No, not common at all. Can offspring arise from it? Yes, the scholars have said yes.
Should
is
you
it
seek
common?
it out?
No.
Should you seek it out? Bro?
Should you seek it out? No. Look, brothers out there have got one wife and looking for 2 and 3. You know, you can't be stashing an invisible woman stashed up in your yard.
It's not.
Yeah. I've got a second wife and she lives, you know, in the keyhole, you know, because they can hide anywhere, these jinn. They get very small or very big. So, but all jokes aside, you know, it's not recommended, but it can happen and it is very rare. And even the scholars mentioned that when it comes to the veracity of who the child is of the, you know, the woman, there's a lot of questions. It can cause a lot of fitna in the town or the country, the area where this is happening. So the scholars say, just don't do it. It causes too many issues. You know, how, you know, what if the jinn dashes, man? You got this kid. How are you going to get paternity? You know, what if this is not a God-fearing jinn? He pretended to be Muslim. He gets you out of the duff. You got this little half jinn sprog, and now you're stuck with, you know, looking after it. And where are you going to get him? You can't go to his yard, go knock on his parents' door. He's in the world of the jinn, man. So yeah, all jokes aside, it can happen.
But what's also interesting is that this is again another parallel theme, point of contact when it comes to the UFO phenomenon. This whole discussion about, you know, alien human hybrids. It's there, right? So it happens, and again, it's another very interesting point of correlation between the two. Yeah.
So we're going to finish up here. We've got one last 2 little bits. We've got quickly. We'll go on with Nabs' question. What would be the characteristics of their offspring? Allahu a'lam.
Yeah.
Allah knows best, but they would be held to the same conditions as the Muslims and the jinn with regard to their worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've got here, jinn kidnap is real. Absolutely, it's real. Yeah, Albani graded it as a chain of Sahih and Urwa al-Ghalil. You're talking about the story of the man who was abducted in the time of Umar. Yes. But not only that, the Prophet said in an authentic hadith found in the Tirmidhi that this at night, bring your children in at night, because this is the time when the jinn spread out and they kidnap. There's a number of riwayat of this same hadith, but there's one riwayat, authentic riwayat, where they actually use the terminology kidnap. So, yet the jinn do kidnap, they do.
Well, some of it's translated as abduct, isn't it?
Yeah, abduct, yeah.
Abduct or kidnap.
Yeah, abduct or kidnap. And they have the same meaning. Last thing here, bro, I don't know if you want to do this one. Next Rocks kind of wanted to push back a little bit about what we said. They've said, because if they are equal to us in all aspects, except physically, then jinn are superior, because they're made from fire, and they can transport fast and transform, etc. Next Rocks, you're coming like you are one of the jinn. You're trying to push the idea. This is what Iblis said. I'm made of fire. Huh? No, I'm only joking.
With respect, I think there's assumptions there. It all boils down to what we see as a superior quality, you know, in creation. You know, so if you see, and some, again, the grass is, you can say the grass is greener on the other side. You think about jinn can fly, they can move very fast, they can do X, Y, Z, and we would, from our perspective as human beings, see that as something amazing, which it does seem like from our perspective, because we can't do those things, and therefore we think them as superior abilities.
Yeah,
but it's not necessarily the case. It's like, how do you define what's superior? I would argue, if you look at the Quranic narrative and the way Allah speaks about Adam and the human race, you would say that the human beings are superior from that perspective, because they're the vicegerents. They've been given the role of vicegerent upon earth. This is exactly what Iblis didn't like, that the human was given this type of superiority over him when he was made of fire, etc. So again, it's about defining what we see as superior. Sure, they may be superior when it comes to certain abilities, You know, like for example, to fly through the air, we can't. At least some jinn can do that. But then you can say that those jinn are superior to other jinn that can't fly through the air. Right?
Yeah.
So it's all about how you define what's superior. I wouldn't say they're equal. Allah knows
No.
best, but it seems like from when you read the Quran that the human beings, when Allah created Adam, they were positioned as the superior being simply the fact that Allah created Adam with his own hands and sent him down as a viceroy upon earth. And that was exactly why Iblis hated Adam and didn't like Adam, right? So, you know, he wants, again, he in a way wants us to believe that what he has, his abilities, his nature is superior. That's what he was arguing, yeah, in front of Allah. But the reality is that's not the case. But that's not to say, again, that they are dumb or stupid or inferior or they have no abilities. No. They have vast abilities and powers and etc. But again, they're still created beings.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a case of how we understand what is superior and how we define that.
How does Allah define who is superior? By faith.
Yeah.
So if there's a believing jinn, he is better than all of the disbelieving human beings, regardless of their makeup. And likewise, a believing human, with regard to all the disbelieving jinn, he is better than all of the disbelieving jinn. So for us, superiority comes in faith, piety, righteousness, obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and observing the sunnah. And this is all obliged upon the jinn as well. There are
animals are more superior than disbelieving humans.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about that.
Yeah, and same as
Allah tells us
yeah, wallahi.
Worse than the animals.
Yeah, you're worse and lower than the animals. SubhanAllah. So last little thing, we just quickly go over these. Humans with faith are stronger than jinn. We can just do adhkar, and bad jinns cannot be near us.
Yes.
We are superior because even though we do not see the unseen, we believe in Allah. Jinns can see the unseen, except this do not believe. I think she means that jinn can see the unseen, so they do not believe. This is incorrect. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses this in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if they, the jinn, had indeed known the unseen, they would have verily known when the soul of Suleiman was taken, and they didn't know. So they don't know the unseen. This is a misconception that many Muslims have. They kind of think that the jinn have knowledge of the unseen. Why? Because of the marid jinn, the particular evil jinn who sneak up through the heavens to listen to the words of the angels, like we discussed earlier. More than likely now that they do it through the clouds. They go up to the clouds and listen to the clouds. But that doesn't mean that they have a knowledge of the unseen. They don't have any knowledge of the unseen. They have the knowledge of their world and our world. Like much, we have knowledge of our world and the world of the microbacteria that live inside us, because we have instruments to look at it. So it doesn't mean that we have all knowledge, and
it's limited.
Yeah, exactly. Very limited. So yeah,
we shouldn't assume that as soon as you say that there's the seen and the unseen, that everything in the unseen is of equal standing.
Yeah.
And has equal information about each other, whatever those entities are. There's, you can see, the better way to see is that there's the degrees, if you like, of the unseen. And there's different beings that have access to different degrees of knowledge, and Allah knows all. And no other being knows everything, and all has all knowledge, and etc. So the jinn have you can say that they are, I wouldn't say a level above, but they function in a plane where they could probably sneak some aspects of unseen information and knowledge. That's been communicated by the angels, but they don't have the whole picture, and they didn't even have it prior to the revelation.
Now, how do human beings get in contact with the jinn? They do very evil, strange things. They cover themselves in blood, or they eat disgusting things, or they sit in the deserts or out in the middle of nowhere. They do very bizarre things. If you went to, someone who's sitting in a laboratory and said, "Oh, you could do this," they're going to not believe you. They think you're ridiculous. We're covered in fecal matter. You're not going to clean yourself. What? It's disgusting. Yeah. It may be that among the jinn it's something similar. There's that they hear these stories of these so-called jinn who travel up to listen to the angel, and I might think this is nonsense. What are you talking about? Yeah, but Allah talks about magic as it's true in the Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about these jinn as it. So there'll be maybe some jinn who reject this idea. What, jinn who listen to angels? I don't believe in the angels. So there could be atheist jinn who don't believe in angels. It doesn't mean that because some of them travel up to listen, that all of them do it. This could be a very small group of the jinn, just like the people who get in contact with the jinn among human beings are a very small number. So yeah, and you have to apply the same perspective we have with regard to things to the jinn. They're not that much different in that perspective.
Sorry. And it seems like that there's jinn of different kinds. There's a process of there's three kinds, ones that fly through the air, ones that come and go, and ones that come in the form of dogs and snakes.
Yeah.
The immediate assumption is that there's different jinn that have different abilities.
Yeah.
So you're right. Some could fly through the sky, go up to the clouds, etc.
Yeah.
The others probably are land based, and they can't do exactly that.
Yeah.
So there may be a lot of variance. I would even think that there's probably more variance amongst the jinn than there are amongst human beings.
even more so, and maybe even more grandiose as well.
Yeah.
You know, so
Hence
Jazakallah
explaining the
khair.
different types of manifestations.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, poltergeist, Bigfoot.
Oh, Bigfoot one's a good one, man. We'll have to do a whole one on Bigfoot one day, brothers.
We can wrap up now, bro. I think
Yeah.
we should wrap up.
Let's
inshallah.
wrap up. We've got Mimi just saying, "Oh, it's frozen." Yeah. Fun fact: when I was a child, my family used to watch the X-Files. I was so afraid of angels. Now there's a possibility that actually jinn sounds funny to me. Mim, I think a lot of people feel the same way as you. But once you apply the Jinn hypothesis to the all of the paranormal / crazy phenomena that's out there, you do see the resemblance to all of them. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for all the mistakes and things that we did wrong today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us if we've misguided somebody. That's not our intention. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept any of the good that we've did and put it on our account on the last day, inshallah ta'ala, in our account. If you think this has benefited you or you could possibly benefit anybody you know, please share and please follow us on our social medias. It's not for numbers or for clout or anything like that. It's just we want to get this message out there and we want to share it with people. So if you think there's any benefit in it, please do your best to share it. Jazakallah khair. I'm Faruq McDermott. Thank you very much for letting me be part of this, Brother Imran, and I'll pass it over to you now.
Yeah, brothers and sisters, get the if you haven't already, check out the booklet. You can download it for free on the Sapiens website, and you can get the physical copy on Amazon, inshallah. So please check it out, inshallah. Share it with people you feel it will be relevant to. And we'll speak to you guys next time, inshallah.
Subhanakallah, hamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.